The mission of Love, Death, and Robots has always been to push the boundaries of animation without the traditional tethers of having to tell family-friendly stories. In theory, this gloves-off approach opens the door for an exciting blank canvas of exploration, but this third season rather boringly favors computer-generated animation and glories in excessive levels of gore rather than great storytelling. In terms of craftsmanship, all of the 9 shorts are brought to life by teams of incredibly talented artists who are mostly representing the spectrum of CG styles right now. While there's still plenty of uncanny valley problems in this collection, especially when human faces are concerned, there are also some groundbreaking techniques on display that prove that computer animators are still making inroads in regards to making that visual chasm smaller and smaller. Where this season flounders is in the depth of its storytelling. With the amount of man-hours it takes to bring these shorts to life, it's a real head-scratcher as to why so many of them are just fixated on brainless carnage instead of crafting a story that uses violence to say something profound. The only short that manages to achieve that this round is writer-director Alberto Mielgo's Jibaro. Featuring a mix of hyper-realistic and sometimes stylized CG animation, it's a stunner and the crown jewel of the entire collection. It challenges the audience with sound design that captures a deaf soldier's perspective and a score that helps land the emotion at the heart of the story. The next most resonant story of the lot comes from David Fincher with his adaptation of Neil Asher's short story Bad Traveling. It's exceptionally gory, but there's a dark beauty to the animation style that leans into the angled, world-weary expressiveness on the faces of the crew. The very pulse of the machine gets a lot of points for being one of the few shorts to feature 2D animation. The story becomes entirely existential, and the swirling landscapes and trippy visuals will appeal to anyone who has an affinity for 2001: A Space Odyssey. Tim Miller brings to life Swarm from cyberpunk author Bruce Sterling, which is impressive for its full-out sci-fi visuals despite some of those uncanny valley issues. And ultimately, the story feels well-worn as it reveals humanity's recurring impulse to destroy other species in order to selfishly fulfill its need for survival.
These creatures are primordially innocent, Doctor.
The rest have some elements to admire, but ultimately are a mush of guns, chunks of viscera, and not that great jokes. Night of the Mini-Dead is the shortest of the pack, and it's actually perfectly timed to land what is essentially a nihilistic fart joke with squeaky voices. Kill Team Kill is the most R-rated G.I. Joe episode you can imagine, except you don't care if any of the squad makes it out alive. Mason's Rats is another thin story about a Scottish farmer who goes to tech war with his barn rats, and again, there's no nuance or comedy unless you like watching chunks of rats fly around. And In Vaulted Hall Entombed stands out because the hyper-realistic CG incorporates the facial features of its voice cast into the design of its squadron, who might as well be following the exact footsteps of the Colonial Marines in Aliens. And 3 Robots Exit Strategy is a comedic post-apocalyptic telling of the fall of man by 3 visiting robots, which is cute, but is ultimately building up to a joke reveal that's underwhelming for the level of animation featured.
No, they didn't have a chance.
They were mean to robots and then robots killed them.
Love, Death, and Robots Volume 3 is the least accessible of the 3 seasons. While there are some impressive examples of CG animation, the craftsmanship is mostly stronger than the stories featured. If you want to watch the cream of the crop, jump to Jibaro, Bad Traveling, and The Very Pulse of the Machine. Everything else, just make sure you're not eating a hearty meal if you partake. You might lose your appetite. For more TV reviews, check out what we thought of Stranger Things Season 4 Part 1 and Halo Season 1. And for everything else, stick with IGN.